Hello, YouTube. There's only one number that matters for the S&P 500 bulls right now, and that is 439. We're going to come back and talk about Nvidia in a few moments after they reported earnings, but as a reminder, these are the monthly notes that I shared, and we can see that S&P is currently in a green light above 439. What does that mean? Think of it like this. We're going down the highway and there's no lights. What do? Well, we just keep going, pedal to the metal. We keep going 60 miles or 100 kilometers an hour. When we see a yellow light, what do? We put our foot over the brake. And for a red light, then we put our foot on the brake. And until we fall back below our current monthly low and keep going lower, we're in a green light because we're over 439. And this will be very important because we're currently over the previous monthly high, just like 2020, but we've not yet closed over it. So if we can close over it, just like we did over here, maybe we get that stairway to heaven and keep going higher. And we say that because the S&P has had a big run. Why it could still reach new records. And then Bank of America thinks we're going to get to 5,000 by next year. Oh my goodness. Those are big, big numbers. So we're not going to go to 5,000 SPX or 500 SPY without the bullish scenario. And as a reminder, we've been talking about the 161 extension, which is up here at 561 as a bull target if we're going to keep going higher. All right, let's get the show going here. So we're currently inside of fear and greed. We've ticked higher by 2 more points. And this is important because we've talked about how we want to see the S&P moving higher on the daily chart as well. We talked about 451.76, which is our 78% Fibonacci retracement. And where is our low of the day today? It is at 451.96. What is that? That's a back test and a pass as of right now. That's very important. So we're forming higher highs on the fear and greed, and we're forming higher highs on the chart. Here is Nvidia's report. Nvidia revenue triples as AI chips boom continues. Let's see if they change that title. They've already done it a few times. If we look here to the numbers, we can see that earnings came in at 402 versus an estimate of 337, and we have revenue beating as well, 18 billion versus 16 estimate. If we look to this article here from Bloomberg, it's a little bit different. Here we see that Nvidia falls. Nvidia investors give ho-hum reaction to latest growth surge. So they've revised that headline as well. Let's go look and see what actually happened to Nvidia here. There's a couple of headlines which actually made the stock move pretty dramatically. Let's see if I can find it here. All right, here we go. 15-minute chart. Let me just pull it back here. 15-minute. Here we go. Extended hours. There's been a huge move in after hours here from high to low. It's like almost 10%. So what made us go up all the way back down and then all the way back up? And we're currently settling here down by about 1%. To be honest, do you even really notice here on the monthly chart that we're down by 1%? I don't. Just looks like we're going up more, and then up even more. All right, before we go further, I'm going to ask you for a huge favor. If you could please consider smashing that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel, I would really, really appreciate that. Thank you ahead of time. I appreciate your support. All right, so if we think about NVIDIA, the difference here is just that we're going to have to wait and see what happens after the conference call, right? I'm not sure what's going to happen. And then there's also going to be that move tomorrow. As a reminder, we've been looking at a bullish scenario on earnings where we have a move higher, inside bar, it breaks by getting over, and then we melt higher. And then we also have a breakdown. Like here we have on Walmart. We note that we get that move lower, and then we get continuation lower. So in terms of Nvidia, I don't want to tell a chart what it's going to do. I just want to be receptive to what happens. This is going to be our second strongest record close ever. So strong record close was yesterday. Second strongest close is today. If tomorrow closes exactly where it is right here, it's going to be either the third or fourth strongest close ever. So it's pretty hard to say that Nvidia is not strong, but here's what's missing. Green volume. So ever since it had its last earnings report here, what do we know? Big red, big red, big red, big red. Everything is big red, and it's pointing lower. I'm going to go through some more evidence, so please make sure you stay tuned till the end of the video to get all of that insight. Here we go. Numbers top estimates, but missed some loftier expectations. There you go. We can look at the numbers right here, and it's very simple to digest. Here's the headline which caused NVIDIA to drop in after hours. Expects sales to China to decline significantly in the fourth quarter. And then we got a bounce back because they said that declines will be offset by growth in other regions. Oh, okay. So we got that violent drop, and then we got the violent reversal. So violent drop, violent reversal. I'm not sure where it's going to settle. We'll have to wait and see on that conference call and then into tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier. But the bulls are out in full force today. They're like, yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go up. So record highs. Cool. This is from Barron's, pretty reputable source. We're looking here to CNBC. And the same article was regurgitated by Forbes. And it tells us that Bank of America sees S&P getting to 5,000 next year. Stock pickers paradise. I like the sounds of that. I wish it was true. If we look here to Larry Summers, he's also telling us that the odds of recession are now down to 25%. So what does this mean? It means that S&P going to new highs is pretty much consensus, and it's pretty much consensus that there's going to be no recession. That seems like a pretty rosy picture. That was that same picture we had going into Nvidia's earnings. So I'll be very curious what happens tomorrow. Again, I don't want to tell the chart what it's going to do. I want to be receptive to the feedback. Part of the reason why I'm a little bit bearish right now as well, just for the short term, is because we're getting these signals from our system, thealgo.com. We have a Black Friday sale on right now if you're interested. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. But I've been showing all of these alerts on the pre-market streams, and I encourage you to come if you want to see all these. I've been sharing a lot of information to make sure that you understand how our system works. And it's been fun to come on these pre-market streams to talk about the market. So I encourage you to come tomorrow at 9:15 Eastern if you want to tune in. So what this pretty much tells us is that we're getting warnings for the Dow, S&P 500, and we didn't get the PSQ one yet, but none of them have really passed yet. So what this tells me is that it's just a warning so far. Until we actually get that alert that fires and holds, it's just a warning. So we're climbing that wall of worry, keyword being worry. All right, here's a headline which is a little bit different. And what this one tells us is that S&P sees small gain into 2024 as U.S. economic risks rise. Let's see whether or not anyone agrees with them, because they might have forgotten that we actually had the FOMC meeting minutes from their last meeting get released today. All on FOMC saw rates remaining restrictive for some time. Remember, this is from about a month ago. Here's more headlines. Fed minutes. All participants agreed the policy decisions at every meeting would continue based on totality of incoming information. Blah, blah, blah. All participants judged it appropriate to stay higher for longer. And all participants on October 31st, meeting agreed rate setting committee was in position to proceed carefully. Sounds like Mr. Magoo. And here we go. Here's that headline, which goes for that 2024 consensus. Many Fed officials saw downside risks to growth. What does that mean? Recession. Read between the lines. All right. I also forgot that we got a settlement here with Binance today, and he's pleading guilty and paying a fine of $4 billion and a $50 million personal fine. All right. Something that's very interesting for me as we talk about Nvidia. I know people generally don't want to hear this because they're pretty bullish on the name, and I hope it goes higher too. We make more money when we're going up as bulls. So look at this sell volume. Is it a coincidence? Well, let's look to the insider selling because, wow, it's like pretty dramatic. Let's look here to Nvidia's earnings. What do they tell us? Well, insiders are selling. So we look here to the 3 months and 12 months. Collectively, in the last 3 months, they've sold 350,000 shares, and they've sold a cool roughly 3 million shares in the last 12 months. So if we take roughly 3 million shares, times that by, it's $500 now, but over the last 12 months, it wasn't. It's about $1.5 billion worth of selling. That's a lot. And the selling is way more than the buying. Not only that, Jeff Bezos has been aggressive again Tuesday, selling more Amazon stock after unloading shares last week, sources say. So he's going to sell as many as 8 to 10 million shares, which would amount to roughly $1 billion worth of stock. And he sold 240 million last week. Man, what does that bald genius know that we don't? He's selling aggressively. Oh, okay. And then as we think about Nvidia, one final thing I'm going to be looking at here is going to be what they actually mentioned on the conference call, because I'm not going to be listening in. But Microsoft, their new chip for AI could be disruptive to big tech, especially NVDA, AMD, and Intel. AMD and Intel both shook off the news. I'll be watching closely to see what Nvidia does here. All right. So that's pretty much it for today. That's all the news. That's everything we really talked about. I'm going to go through a couple more really quick charts because at the end of the day, we're looking for a very specific recipe for us to go down. And like I mentioned before, I'm sharing more than I normally would otherwise because I just want to make sure that on Black Friday, you're understanding what we do after we sign off YouTube, because I think a lot of people get confused about when I make a red video or a green video, what that means. Here's the notes. And before I do that, I'll actually show you my active portfolio. I've done this a few times now. but hopefully you'll get a little bit of appreciation for the fact that it's not like I'm a superstar, rock star, slayer, conquer the galaxy and overall things. It just means that I follow a recipe and I plan for success. So I've got 2 losers in my account right now. I got Walmart. I bought that one today. And then I got DDD. Otherwise, everything's a winner. And I've trimmed most of them, which means that I can't lose on these. So at the end of the video, if you want to learn more about our system, I encourage you to watch that video. But here, I will give you the best information right now. And all I ask in return is that you just consider smashing that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Thank you ahead of time. All right, here we go. S&P weekly chart. We are butting up against the major resistance after a 10% rally in 15 days. So since we closed at the high of the week last week, we should get a weekly higher high, which we did. That's over 452. If we remain over 452, bullish. If we fall under 451, bearish. And here's the warning signs. The first warning is a daily lower low with a close below the low. Do we have that? No, we don't. So if we look here, all hollow candles, mostly higher lows, and we got a higher low versus yesterday. So now the fact that tomorrow a weekly lower low would be 451.95 or lower, that's getting awfully close to our 70% Fibonacci area at 451.76. So that would just be a warning, right? The first warning. The first warning is a daily lower low. The second part of the first warning is a close below the previous daily low. So that would mean pretty much a close at 451, that area that I'm quite concerned about right now. Why would that matter? If you look here to our weekly chart, that would pretty much mean that we're going to be back below last week's high. That would be a failed breakout. A failed breakout's not good because it's usually a reversal signal. So there you go. We don't have any warnings yet. We got our weekly higher high. We're currently bullish. So we're currently bullish if we remain over. And then the second warning is SH swing algo. As I mentioned, I will share this with you on the public stream if it happens. But if you want the stuff in real time, just stay tuned until the end and you can see how our system works. And then number 3, 438 or the gateway for the bears. We went through and talked about how that would be a failed breakout on the monthly. And as of this week, for our weekly notes, that would mean that we're in a weekly lower low below the previous low. So at a high level, that's pretty much it. That's our notes for the show. So in about 12 minutes, I think I've laid out my exact scenario. If you want to go through and watch our weekend, if you want to watch the stream this morning, which went through all of our prep and analysis, that is found on our channel. But if not, you can click right here on the left-hand side and learn more about our algo system. We have a Black Friday sale on right now. I encourage you to click it. If not, I look forward to seeing you for our pre-market show tomorrow or back for our upload at the end of the day tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow.